The market smelled of oil, fear, and metal. Hundreds of aliens shouted prices, trading lives like tools. Evan walked through the noise, feeling disgust rise in his chest. He was only there to sell scrap, not to buy someone. But something made him stop. In the far corner, behind a rusted cage, sat a small alien girl. Her skin was silver blue, almost glowing under the dim lights. Her long white hair covered half her face. The tag hanging from her neck said only one word: mute. The auctioneer laughed when he saw Evan stop. She doesn't speak, doesn't fight, doesn't eat much, worthless, but if you want her human, take her for pennies. Evan frowned. The girl lifted her head slightly. For a moment, her bright violet eyes met his. There was fear, yes, but something deeper too. Awareness. She wasn't broken. She was pretending. He handed over the few coins, ignoring the laughter behind him. I'll take her. The auctioneer shook his head. Humans always collect trash. Evan opened the cage door. The girl didn't move. She only stared at him, silent as stone. Come on, he said softly, offering his hand. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then slowly, she reached out. Her fingers were cold, too cold for a living being. The moment their hands touched, her body tensed. Her eyes went wide, glowing brighter. Then she whispered, no, shouted, a single word that froze Evan's heart. Run! The market fell silent. Evan blinked. What? Run! She screamed again, this time louder, her voice echoing like thunder. A deep hum rolled through the ground. The metal floor trembled. The traders looked up in confusion. One of the alien guards pointed at the sky. Something's coming. Evan grabbed the girl's hand and pulled her out of the cage. The sky above was turning red, the light flickering like fire through smoke. The hum grew into a roar. The market exploded in chaos. Stalls toppled, metal shards flew, and the air filled with screaming. A massive shadow fell across the city as something enormous descended from the clouds. Evan ducked behind a fallen crate, shielding the girl. What's happening? She looked up at him, trembling. Her voice was shaky but clear now. They found me. Who? He asked, looking toward the sky. The clouds split apart. A black ship, shaped like a blade, hovered over the market. Its surface pulsed with red light. Evan had seen ships before, military ones, transport ones. But this was something else. It moved silently like it was alive. The ground cracked open as a beam of dark light struck near the cages. Anything it touched turned to dust. Evan's heart raced. He looked around for an exit. The girl clutched his arm tightly, her small hand trembling. We must go, she whispered. Now, he didn't argue. They ran through the broken stalls, dodging debris and terrified aliens. Behind them, the ship's weapons tore the market apart. Why are they after you? Evan shouted over the noise. She didn't answer, just kept running. Her bare feet slapped against the metal floor, leaving faint glowing footprints. They turned into a narrow alley between two massive cargo silos. The light from the ship dimmed behind them. Evan leaned against the wall, gasping for breath. Who are you? He asked. The girl looked up at him. Her violet eyes glowed brighter. I was property, she said softly. But they made a mistake. And what mistake? I remember, Evan frowned. Remember what? Before she could reply, a loud metallic voice echoed through the city. Subject 9, found containment protocols active. The girl's face went pale. They know where I am. Who are they? Evan asked again, but she shook her head. They're not people. They're hunters. Machines with no soul. They will not stop until I'm gone. A beam of red light passed overhead, scanning the alley. Evan pulled her into a small maintenance tunnel. The air was cold and smelled like rust. They crawled inside just as the light swept by. After a few minutes of silence, Evan turned to her again. You said you were mute. I had to be, she whispered. They listen through sound. When I speak, they find me. Evan stared at her, realizing how careful she had been, silent all this time just to survive. Then why speak now? She looked at him with a trembling smile. Because you touched my hand. The mark woke up. I had to warn you. He looked down at his palm. Faint golden lines glowed on his skin where their hands had met. They looked like circuits pulsing slowly. What is this? He whispered. The beginning, she said softly, her eyes full of fear and sadness, and the end. Outside, the ground shook again. The ship's engine screamed, and a deep mechanical voice called out her name, one not made for any human tongue. Evan felt a chill down his spine. Whatever she was, whoever was hunting her, he knew one thing for sure. He wasn't leaving her behind. The world above them screamed. The sky itself seemed to rip apart as if something alive was tearing through it. Evan pulled the girl deeper into the tunnel, covering her with his jacket. Dust rained from the ceiling and the air shook with a low, angry hum that made his bones ache. When the noise eased for a moment, Evan peered through a crack in the tunnel wall. What he saw made his stomach twist. The black ship had opened like a flower of steel, its petals glowing red. Dozens of smaller drones poured out, spreading across the ruined market like a storm of metal locusts. "Are they after you?" he asked again, trying to keep his voice calm. The girl nodded slowly. "They are after what I carry, what you carry." She pressed her small hand to her chest where a faint light pulsed beneath her skin. "Inside me is something they made. It's not mine, but it listens to me." Before Evan could speak, one of the drones flew past the tunnel opening. Its red scanner beam swept across the ground, melting debris as it passed. He pulled her closer, pressing a finger to his lips. She didn't move, didn't even breathe. The beam slid across the wall, stopped for a second, then moved on. When it was gone, Evan exhaled. "We can't stay here." "There's an old hangar east of here," she said quietly. "It's hidden under the power grid. If we reach it, we can hide for a while." Evan didn't ask how she knew that. Something about her voice, gentle but certain, made him trust her. "Let's move." They crawled through the tunnel until it opened into a service corridor. Broken pipes hissed steam. Warning lights blinked dimly through the smoke. Evan helped her climb up a ladder that led to the surface. When they reached the top, the world above looked like a nightmare. The market was gone. The sky burned with fire and electricity. The black ship hovered like a god of death, surrounded by smaller crafts circling it like angry insects. The sound was deafening, a mix of thunder and machine roars. The girl stared at it, her eyes glowing faintly. "They've come for me before," she whispered. "But this time they won't stop." "Why?" Evan asked. "Because I escaped. I wasn't supposed to." Evan grabbed her hand again. "Then let's make sure they never find you again." They ran through the smoking ruins, hiding behind fallen structures. The air was full of static. Every time one of the drones flew overhead, Evan could feel the hair on his arms rise. He held the girl's hand tightly, guiding her through the chaos. Suddenly, a sound like shattering glass came from above. Evan looked up and froze. The sky cracked open again, but this time it wasn't the black ship. A blue-white streak of light shot through the clouds and struck one of the drones, turning it into dust. The girl gasped. "They're here." "Who?" "My guardians. What's left of them." From the clouds, 3 smaller ships appeared, sleek silver and glowing faintly blue. They weren't as large as the black ship, but their movements were fast, graceful, alive. The drones turned to attack them immediately. Evan pulled the girl behind a half-collapsed tower. The silver ships fired back, lightning arcs slashing through the sky. One of them was hit and spiraled down, crashing not far from them. The explosion lit up the street. The girl's voice broke. "That one. She was my friend." Evan saw tears in her glowing eyes. She looked both alien and heartbreakingly human. "We need to go," he said softly. They sprinted toward the hangar she mentioned. The city roared around them, light and fire dancing across the metal ground. Evan's chest burned as he ran, but he didn't stop. The girl guided him through the maze of ruins, her memory perfect, every turn chosen with purpose. At last they reached a half-buried gate. The door was massive, rusted, but a small access panel blinked faintly nearby. She placed her hand on it. The light under her skin flared and the gate hissed open. Inside was darkness, old ships, broken machines, and dust. But it was shelter. Evan closed the door behind them. The noise of war faded to a distant rumble. For a long moment, neither spoke. Only the faint hum of old power systems echoed. Then Evan said, "You saved me back there." She looked at him, surprised. "I warned you because you didn't deserve to die for me." He shook his head. "You screamed to save a stranger. That's not what monsters do." Her expression softened, and for the first time she smiled faintly. "Maybe that's why they fear your kind," she whispered. Evan frowned. "Fear us?" "Yes, humans," she said slowly. "You carry something they can't understand. You protect what you care for even when it's not yours." He looked at her carefully. "And what's your name?" She hesitated. "They called me Subject 9. "I'm not calling you that," Evan said. "You need a real name." She tilted her head. "A name?" He thought for a second. "How about Lyra?" Her eyes glowed brighter. Lyra, she repeated softly. I like that. Outside, the explosions grew distant. But the black ship was still there, circling above like a predator waiting for its prey to breathe again. Evan didn't know it yet, but the moment he gave her that name, everything changed. The hunters no longer chased an experiment. They were now hunting a girl with a name, and a human who refused to let her die. Inside the old hangar, silence returned, but it wasn't peaceful. It was the kind of silence that waited for something. Dust floated in the air like ash. The walls creaked softly as if the place remembered the wars once fought there. Evan lit a small lamp from his tool pack. Its orange glow touched the broken metal walls. Lyra sat on the floor, her knees pulled to her chest. She looked fragile now, just a scared girl hiding in the dark. But he knew there was more inside her, something powerful and dangerous. Evan walked closer and asked gently, "That ship outside, why does it want you?" Lyra didn't answer right away. She looked at her wrist where faint golden lines glowed beneath her skin. Slowly she raised her hand. "Because of this," she whispered. Evan leaned closer. The mark looked alive, like tiny rivers of light moving under her skin. When he reached out, she pulled back quickly. "Don't touch it," she warned. "What happens if I do?" Her violet eyes flickered with fear. "It listens to anyone who touches it. It remembers their heartbeat, their mind. If it hears the wrong one, it wakes." Evan frowned. "It?" Lyra nodded. "The Titan they built, a creature made from metal and fire. It sleeps deep under this planet. They use my blood to connect with it. But when I refused to control it, they silenced me." Evan sat down near her, trying to understand. "You were part of their experiment?" "I was born for it," she said softly. "They created us to be voices for their machines. But the machines learned to choose who they listened to. The others were destroyed. Only I remained." For a moment, the hangar's silence grew heavy. Outside, thunder rolled faintly in the sky. Evan sighed. "You shouldn't be alone in this." "I've always been alone," she replied. "Until you came," he smiled weakly. "Well, now you're stuck with me." Lyra tilted her head, unsure if it was a good thing or not. Then she asked quietly, "Why help me, human? You could have left." "Because I saw fear in your eyes," he said. "And I've seen that look before, in people who wanted to live, not fight." Lyra looked down, hiding a small smile. "You speak like someone who lost much." "Maybe I did," Evan said softly, staring at the flickering lamp. "Maybe helping you gives me a reason again." Before she could reply, a strange sound filled the hangar, a low hum like something awakening. Lyra froze. The glow on her wrist grew brighter. "No," she whispered. "It hurt us." The floor trembled slightly. Dust fell from the ceiling. Evan stood up, scanning the shadows. "What do you mean it hurt us?" Lyra clutched her wrist tightly. "The mark reacts when I speak its name in my heart. It thinks I'm calling it. Can you stop it?" "I don't know anymore." The ground vibrated again, stronger this time. Cracks spread across the floor. From the center of the hangar, a pulse of red light flashed and vanished. Evan pulled Lyra back. "What's happening?" Her voice trembled. "The Titan. It's trying to connect." Evan looked at her glowing wrist, then at the broken machinery around them. "If this Titan is under the planet, maybe it's sensing you." Lyra nodded slowly. "It always finds its voice." The light on her wrist flickered faster, like a heartbeat gone wild. She screamed softly, holding her arm. The mark burned bright gold, sending out tiny sparks. Evan grabbed a piece of torn cloth and wrapped it around her hand. "Focus," he said firmly. "Don't let it take you. I can't stop it. It's inside me." She cried. He held her shoulders. "Then fight it. You said it listens. Make it listen to you." For a moment, she looked into his eyes, and something inside her changed. The fear slowly turned into determination. She closed her eyes, breathing deeply. The light grew brighter, then steadied. Finally, the trembling stopped. The ground went still. Evan let out a shaky breath. "You did it." Lyra opened her eyes. "No, you did. You reminded me what I am." "What are you?" Her lips curved into a faint, sad smile. "Not a weapon. Not a slave. Just someone who remembers what kindness feels like." Evan sat beside her again. "Good. Because we'll need that if we're going to survive." Outside, distant explosions echoed. Through a small crack in the hangar wall, Evan saw the night sky flash with red lightning. The black ship was still there, circling the ruined city. Lyra whispered, "They won't stop now. The mark is awake. They'll know exactly where I am. Evan clenched his fists. Then we move before they get here. She nodded weakly. There's a transport line beneath this hangar. It leads to the old mines. If we reach the deep tunnels, maybe the Titan won't find me. Evan stood and checked his tools. Then we go now. But as he turned toward the exit, the lamp flickered once, twice, then went out. From outside came the sound of heavy footsteps, metal grinding against stone. The hangar door groaned as if something massive was pressing against it. Lyra's voice went cold. He's here. Who? Evan whispered, already pulling her behind a pile of crates. She looked up, her violet eyes glowing faintly in the dark. The hunter. A shadow passed over the broken windows. Red light cut through the dust. The air turned hot, thick with static, and then the hangar door bent inward, screaming under pressure. The sky outside flashed red again, and the hunter entered the ruins. Calling her name with a voice like burning iron, the hangar doors groaned like dying beasts. Metal screamed as something powerful tore through the thick steel. Sparks fell like rain. Evan held his breath, pulling Lyra behind a half-collapsed transport crate. The air was heavy, thick with smoke and tension. The sound of footsteps followed, slow, heavy, certain. Each step shook the ground. A deep mechanical hiss echoed with every movement, followed by a low rumble like a growl. Then from the gap in the broken door, a shadow appeared. It was massive, part flesh, part machine. A tall armored creature with red circuits glowing beneath its black plates. Its face was hidden behind a mask that looked like a skull forged from molten metal. Two burning red eyes scanned the room, leaving trails of light in the air. Lyra trembled, whispering, "The hunter." Evan looked at her. "What is it?" "It's not alive like you or me," she said softly. "It's a weapon wearing flesh. It was made to find me." The creature's head tilted slightly. A voice, deep and metallic, filled the hangar. "Subject 9, return to control or all will be erased." Evan clenched his fists. "What does it mean, all will be erased?" Lyra's voice shook. "It means it will burn everything to reach me." The hunter took another step inside, scanning the darkness. Its red light swept across the floor, slicing through dust clouds. The mark on Lyra's wrist began to glow faintly again, reacting to its presence. Evan saw it and whispered, "Can it track you by that?" She nodded slowly. "Yes, it feels me." Like a pulse, he looked around, desperate. There were tools, broken ships, power cables, but nothing strong enough to fight that thing. "We need to move," he said, but before they could take a step, the hunter spoke again. "You cannot escape your purpose." With a roar, it smashed through the crates where they had hidden. Evan grabbed Lyra and rolled aside as the debris exploded around them. A piece of metal grazed his shoulder, burning through his jacket. He hissed in pain but didn't stop. The hunter's arm transformed, shifting into a glowing weapon. A red blade hummed to life. The floor melted under its heat. Evan ducked behind another structure, pushing Lyra down. "Stay low." She shook her head. "You can't fight it, Evan. It's built to destroy Titans." He gave a short, bitter laugh. "Then it won't expect a human with bad luck." The hunter turned its gaze toward them, scanning. Evan picked up a heavy metal pipe lying nearby. His heart pounded. He knew it wouldn't kill that thing, but maybe it could distract it long enough. He threw the pipe across the hangar. It clanged loudly. The hunter turned instantly, its sensors flashing. It fired. A blast of red light destroyed the far wall in an instant. Evan used the chance to pull Lyra toward a side corridor. The ground shook beneath them as they ran. Behind them, the hunter's voice echoed, cold and steady. "You cannot hide from creation." They slipped into the narrow hallway, the metal walls glowing faintly from heat. Lyra stumbled, her hand clutching her chest. The mark was pulsing fast, hurting her. Evan held her up. "Stay with me, Lyra." Her voice was faint. "It's trying to connect to me again. It wants me to surrender." "Then don't," Evan said firmly. "You said it listens. Make it listen to you." She looked at him, tears forming in her glowing eyes. "You don't understand. The Titan inside me. If I call it, the whole planet could burn." Evan hesitated, his breath heavy. "Then we run until we can't." Behind them, metal bent and twisted. The hunter was cutting through walls, following their heat signatures. Evan spotted a broken control room at the end of the hall. He kicked the door open, pulling Lyra inside. The room was small and filled with old machinery. He quickly searched for something useful. A weapon, a control switch, anything. Then he saw it. an old power conduit linked to the hangar's reactor. "Lyra," he said quickly, "if I overload this system, it'll cause a chain reaction." She blinked, understanding. "It will explode," he nodded. "Big enough to slow it down." She shook her head. "You'll die. Not if I'm fast." Before she could argue, the hunter's blade pierced the wall beside them. Sparks flew, lighting up the room. Its red eyes glowed through the hole, searching for them. Evan pulled out his wrench and began turning the old conduit valve. The machinery groaned to life, humming with unstable energy. The hunter smashed through the wall, stepping into the room. Its voice filled the air again. "Human. Interference detected. Eliminate." Evan didn't stop. "Lyra, when I say run, you run." She shook her head, crying, "I won't leave you." "Now's not the time to argue," he shouted. The floor trembled. The power lines sparked violently. The hunter raised its blade. Then suddenly Lyra screamed. Her mark flared like a sun. The light spread across her arm and chest, filling the room with golden fire. The hunter paused, confused. Lyra stood up slowly, her eyes shining brighter than the machine's sensors. "You won't touch him," she said. The hunter stepped forward, voice distorted. "Command denied." Lyra lifted her glowing hand. The air around her shimmered. The mark's light shot outward like a wave, slamming into the hunter. Its armor cracked, sparks bursting from its chest. Evan shielded his face as the energy roared through the room. The walls glowed white-hot, and for a second, time itself felt frozen. When the light faded, the hunter was gone, vaporized. Only smoke and melted metal remained. Lyra collapsed, her glow dimming. Evan caught her before she hit the ground. Her voice was weak. "I didn't mean to." He held her close. "You did what you had to." Outside, the hangar trembled again. Deep under the planet, something ancient began to stir. A sound like a heartbeat echoed through the ground, slow, massive, alive. Evan looked down at the girl in his arms. "What did you just wake up, Lyra?" She opened her eyes halfway, whispering, "The Titan heard me." And somewhere far below them, something enormous answered with a growl that made the stars tremble. The air was still burning when silence finally fell. The hangar was half gone, walls melted, metal twisted into strange shapes. Smoke rose from the floor, glowing faintly red from the heat. Evan held Lyra in his arms. Her skin was cold, and her light was fading. The mark on her wrist pulsed weakly like a dying ember. "Stay with me," Evan said softly. "Don't fade on me now." Lyra's eyes fluttered open. "The hunter?" He looked around the ruins. Nothing but smoke and ashes. "Gone," he said. "You destroyed it." Her voice trembled. "No, I didn't destroy it. I released something." Evan frowned. "Released what?" Before she could answer, the ground shook beneath them. The dust rippled like waves. From deep below came a sound, a heavy, slow thump like a heartbeat echoing through the planet. Lyra's eyes widened in terror. "It's waking." "The Titan?" Evan whispered. She nodded weakly. "It felt my fear. It heard my scream. Now it rises." Outside, a low roar rolled through the sky. The red clouds swirled as lightning split the air. The ground cracked open beyond the hangar, glowing from within. Evan helped Lyra stand, but her legs were shaking. "What will it do?" he asked. Her voice was faint. "It protects what it believes is its voice. It will destroy everything else." Evan looked toward the burning horizon. "Then we have to stop it." Lyra shook her head slowly. "You can't stop what's older than stars." The sound grew louder, closer. From the cracks in the earth, molten light poured upward. Huge chunks of rock lifted into the air. The wind became a scream. Evan grabbed Lyra's arm and pulled her toward a higher ledge near the broken hangar wall. From there, they could see the city beyond, the ruins now glowing red as something massive began to rise from below. A gigantic shape emerged from the ground, metal mixed with stone, its surface carved with alien runes. It moved like a living mountain. Two burning eyes opened, casting golden light over the entire land. Evan could hardly breathe. "That That's it? Lyra nodded, tears streaming down her cheeks. That's the Titan. They built it to obey us, but it became something else. A living world breaker. The Titan raised its head toward the black ship in the sky. The alien fleet had gathered again, hundreds of ships circling above. The Titan's eyes narrowed. Energy pulsed through its body, and for a moment, everything stopped. Then the world exploded in light. The sky turned white. A beam of golden fire shot upward, cutting through the clouds like a blade. One by one, the ships vanished, disintegrated, erased from existence. The explosion's light reflected in Lyra's eyes, both beautiful and horrifying. Evan shielded her from the heat. "It's destroying everything," she whispered. "It's protecting me." He looked at her in disbelief. "You mean us?" Her gaze softened. "It doesn't know you exist. Only me. You're standing inside its anger." Another beam of light tore through the clouds, and the black ship, the one that hunted her, shattered into pieces. The Titan roared, a sound so deep the ground itself cracked open again. Evan held Lyra close as shockwaves rolled through the ruins. He could feel the heat, the vibration, the strange hum in his bones. Then it stopped. The Titan stood still, its eyes dimming. Smoke rose from the remains of the alien fleet. The sky cleared slowly, revealing cold stars beyond the fading fire. Evan looked at Lyra, her mark now burned bright gold. "It's over?" he asked. She shook her head. "No, it's only beginning. When the Titan wakes, it doesn't return to sleep. It waits for command." Evan frowned. "Command? You mean you can control it?" "I can speak to it," she said softly. "But control? No one can control something that remembers pain." Evan stood silent for a moment, then asked, "If it's waiting, what will it do now?" She turned her eyes toward the horizon. "It will wait for my voice. It will wait for my call. Or..." She looked down at the faint glow on Evan's hand, where her mark had once touched him. "Yours." Evan froze. The golden lines on his palm flickered again, brighter this time. He felt warmth spread through his arm, like energy responding to his heartbeat. "Lyra," he said slowly. "What does that mean?" Her lips trembled. "When I saved you, it linked to you too. You carry part of my signal now." He shook his head. "No. That thing can't listen to me." "It already is," she whispered. "The Titan knows your name." Evan looked toward the horizon again. The massive shape of the Titan stood still, half covered in smoke, its eyes now dim. But as he stared, one of its eyes flickered faintly, once, twice, like it was breathing. Then faintly, across the broken land, a deep, echoing voice filled the air. "Human." Evan's blood ran cold. Lyra's knees gave out. It spoke. The Titan turned its head slowly, looking directly at them from miles away. "You touched my voice," it said, its words vibrating through the earth, "and yet you did not break her." Evan couldn't speak. The Titan's eyes dimmed again, but its voice lingered. "You will be remembered." Then, slowly, it began to sink back into the ground, the molten cracks sealing behind it. The city grew silent again, the stars reflecting on the cooling earth. Evan finally exhaled. "Is it gone?" Lyra looked up weakly. "It rests. For now." He stared at her glowing mark, then at his own. "So now we both carry its power." She nodded faintly. "And its burden." Outside, the wind blew through the ruins, carrying the smell of ash and lightning. The night was quiet, but not peaceful. For deep beneath the surface, the Titan's heart still beat. The dawn never came. The sky above the ruined city was still painted in shades of fire and ash. The wind carried whispers of fear, like the world itself remembered what had just happened. Evan stood on a broken platform, staring at the blackened horizon where the Titan had sunk back into the ground. The earth was quiet, but the silence felt alive, like something enormous was still listening beneath their feet. Lyra sat beside him, weak and pale. The golden mark on her wrist was dim now, but it pulsed faintly with each heartbeat, like a reminder that the monster beneath them was not gone. Evan broke the silence first. It said my name. Lyra looked at him, her eyes glowing faintly violet. It didn't just speak to you, Evan. It recognized you. He frowned. Recognized? I'm just a scavenger. I fix broken engines, not talk to gods buried under planets. She shook her head slowly. You don't understand. The Titan isn't a god. It's a machine built from emotion, designed to protect its voice. It's not supposed to recognize humans. But you touched it. It felt you. Evan rubbed the glowing lines on his palm. It felt kindness, maybe. Kindness is what it was never given, Lyra said softly. You woke something ancient, something that forgot mercy long ago. Before Evan could reply, a low rumble rolled through the ground. The walls of the hangar shook, dust raining down again. Lyra's head snapped up. It's moving. Evan grabbed his tools, scanning the area. I thought it went back to sleep. It did, Lyra whispered. But it's dreaming. And I think it's dreaming about you. The floor trembled violently. Outside, the sky flickered with red light again. Evan ran to the shattered window and looked out. The earth cracked open once more, and molten light bled upward like veins of fire. From the broken land, the Titan's head began to rise again. This time, it wasn't slow or calm. It was angry. The sound of its movement was thunder and metal grinding together. Its eyes burned brighter than before, molten gold turning white hot. Evan stepped back, shielding Lyra from the heat. Why is it waking again? Her voice trembled. It feels threatened. Something else is coming. A loud screech split the air. From the upper atmosphere, dark shapes appeared. More alien warships, hundreds of them. Their formation spread across the clouds like a swarm of black wings. Lyra's breath caught. The Dominion fleet. They're the ones who created it. They're here to reclaim their weapon. Evan stared upward. Then they're about to meet it. The Titan raised one massive arm, its surface covered in glowing runes. Energy surged across its body, and the ground beneath it turned into flowing lava. The alien ships began firing, beams of red plasma and streaks of missiles that vanished before even touching the Titan's armor. The Titan's eyes flared. It opened its chest, revealing a core of swirling white energy. In an instant, it released a pulse that spread across the sky. The air itself screamed as the pulse expanded, destroying the incoming fleet like paper and fire. Evan watched in awe, his heart racing. It's unstoppable. No, Lyra said quietly. It's awakening. As the last ship vanished into dust, the Titan turned its gaze downward toward them. Its shadow covered the entire city. The ground rumbled with its voice. Human, you protected my voice. You share her mark. You are now bound. Evan felt his hand burn. The golden lines glowed brighter, pulsing with the same rhythm as the Titan's eyes. What does it mean, bound? He asked, backing away. Lyra looked terrified. It's linking with you. It's choosing you as its new command. Evan shook his head. I can't control that thing. But the Titan didn't ask, it decided. Energy shot from its chest like lightning, striking the ground around them. The world flashed white. When the light faded, the hangar was gone, and they were standing on an open plain made of glowing stone. Above them, the Titan loomed, its massive form kneeling as if bowing. Lyra whispered in awe, It's obeying you. Evan took a step forward. Why me? He shouted. I'm not your master. The Titan's deep voice echoed again, shaking the air. You carry the spark of mercy. You protected the voice. My purpose is her safety. My bond is your will. Lyra's eyes filled with tears. It listens to you now. Because you showed what its creators never did. Human compassion. Evan looked up at the colossal being. Then help me protect her, not destroy the world. The Titan's eyes dimmed slightly, almost like it understood. Command received, protect. But before peace could settle, a new sound tore through the sky. A sound sharper, colder. Evan looked up and saw something vast emerging from hyperspace. A ship larger than the Titan itself, black as a starless void. Lyra gasped. That's not Dominion. That's the Warden, their oldest weapon. It was built to hunt titans. The titan raised its head slowly and the ground split under its feet. Its glowing eyes narrowed. Old enemy detected. Evan grabbed Lyra's hand. We can't stay here. The air thickened as the Warden charged its weapons. Lightning arcs flashed across the sky, blue energy building like a storm. The titan spread its arms wide, its runes glowing brighter than ever before. For a heartbeat, everything was silent. Then the world erupted in light. The titan launched upward, breaking through the clouds, meeting the Warden head-on in the upper atmosphere. The shockwave flattened the land, ripping apart the sky itself. Evan and Lyra fell to the ground as the heavens above turned into fire. She clutched his hand tightly. If it loses, everything ends. He looked up at the burning clouds. Then it won't lose. Not while I'm still breathing. Far above, two gods of war clashed, metal and light tearing through the stars. The planet trembled under their fury. And deep inside Evan's chest, his mark glowed brighter than ever, because for the first time in its long existence, the Titan had something new to fight for, a human heart. The sky burned like a second sun. Above the planet, two giants clashed, one forged from gold and mercy, the other from darkness and hate. The Titan and the Warden tore through the heavens, their strikes shaking the stars. Every impact sent shockwaves that shattered mountains, turning clouds into fire. On the scorched ground below, Evan and Lyra struggled to stand. The world around them was breaking apart, the air thick with heat and dust. The mark on Evan's hand pulsed wildly, syncing with the Titan's rhythm. He could feel its thoughts, rage, pain, and something deeper, sorrow. Lyra fell to her knees, clutching her chest. Her light was fading again. It's burning itself, she whispered. The Titan is fighting beyond its limit. Evan knelt beside her, holding her trembling hand. Then I'll help it. You can't, she said weakly. Your body isn't made for that kind of power. He looked at the glowing mark on his hand. Maybe not. But it chose me. And if it dies, you die too. She looked into his eyes, tears glowing like tiny stars. You'll die with it. Then I'll die standing. He pressed his palm against the ground, closing his eyes. The mark flared, connecting his mind to the Titan once more. In an instant, his thoughts were no longer his own. He saw through the Titan's eyes, the world below, the dark sky, the black Warden charging its final weapon. The Warden's voice echoed across space, cold and merciless. Creation must not disobey its makers. The Titan's response was calm but powerful, like thunder whispered by the stars. I obeyed too long. The Warden unleashed a beam of energy so bright it split the sky in two. The Titan caught it with both hands, roaring as molten light spread across its arms. The ground below shook violently. Evan screamed as the energy coursed through his veins. His body burned, but he didn't let go. Through the bond, the Titan spoke to him, not with words, but with feelings. Evan saw flashes of its memories, its creation in a cold lab, endless commands, destruction without purpose, silence after obedience. And then, the first time it heard her voice, Lyra's, a voice that didn't command but asked. That was when it began to dream. Evan gasped. You're not just a weapon. You're alive. The Titan's answer was soft, because she sang to me. The Warden's beam pushed harder, melting through the Titan's armor. Its golden runes flickered, cracking under pressure. Evan could feel the Titan breaking, and through it, his own body weakening. Lyra cried out, Evan, stop! You'll die. He looked at her, smiling through the pain. If I die saving something that learned kindness from us, that's a good end. He focused again, channeling everything he had left into the bond. Titan, he said through gritted teeth, listen to me. Don't fight for hate. Fight for her. For freedom. The Titan's eyes flared brighter than the sun. Its energy shifted, no longer violent but pure and steady. The ground stopped shaking. Even the Warden hesitated, its sensors confused by the sudden surge of calm power. The Titan spread its arms wide, and from its core came a voice that echoed across the stars. I am no longer a weapon. Its entire body ignited in golden light. It released all of its energy in one final wave. The Warden screamed as the light consumed it, ripping through its armor, its circuits, its dark heart. In seconds, the sky turned white and then silent. When the light faded, the Titan was gone. Only pieces of golden dust drifted down from the heavens like glowing rain. Evan collapsed, the mark on his hand fading to ash. His breathing slowed, his strength gone. Lyra crawled toward him, her tears falling onto his face. "You did it," she whispered. "You freed him." He smiled faintly. Then maybe he wasn't the only one. Lyra shook her head, holding him tightly. "Don't leave me, please." He touched her cheek gently. "You were his voice, but you were my reason." The golden dust fell around them, settling softly on the ruins. The heat faded. The world was quiet again. Lyra closed her eyes, resting her forehead against his. The Titan's energy is flowing into the ground. It's rebuilding what it broke. Evan's voice was weak, fading. Then it learned peace. She nodded, her tears glowing as they touched his hand. "Because you showed it." His hand went still. The golden lines vanished completely. Lyra cried silently, her sobs echoing through the empty world. Then she felt something warm, the mark on her wrist glowing again, but this time in soft blue. The Titan's final message echoed faintly in her mind. "The human lives, through my light." She gasped as her eyes widened. The light spread from her hand into Evan's body. His chest rose slightly, color returning to his face. He coughed once, then opened his eyes, confused. "Am I dead?" Lyra laughed through tears. "No, just too stubborn to be." He smiled weakly. "Guess humans are hard to delete." Above them, the clouds cleared completely. The stars shone bright, and for the first time in years, the sky was calm. The war was over. Lyra stood beside him, looking at the sky where the Titan once stood. "He's gone," she whispered. "But his heart beats in every world that remembers mercy." Evan put his arm around her shoulders. "Then let's make sure they do." They walked toward the rising light of dawn, the first true dawn after a long night of fear. Behind them, in the far distance, the wind carried a faint echo. A deep, slow heartbeat, not of war this time, but of peace. The Titan rested. Humanity was remembered.